want to do is we want to sample this creek, okay? Sample this transect, and we want to make 20 measurements from left to right or right to left. It really doesn't matter. We want to go ahead and adjust our rod and put our meter in the water such that it's reading.
Hello and welcome back to Land Grant Today. I am your host, Cynthia Lamb, and for this edition of the program, we have with us our distinguished guest, Professor Nathan Bailey, Assistant Professor of Biological Agriculture Systems Engineering at the College of Agriculture and Food Sciences. Thank you, Dr. Bailey, for joining us today.
Thank you for inviting me.
And this program, academic program, also known as BASE, incorporates two main facets from what I understand. And one is natural resources conservation and engineering, as well as biological food systems. So tell us about this program and what it actually entails for the students.
Okay. And of those two, I'm with the natural resources conservation. I've been with that area for, I guess, my entire career as an agricultural engineer. And as you said, you know, there is a bioprocessing and there's a natural resources. The bioprocessing is more concerned with the food, you know, taking the food from the field and processing to a point where it gets into the supermarkets. For instance, orange juice, you know, basically taking the oranges from the field, putting it into an industrial setting, and then peeling the oranges and creating orange juice. Or with let's say beer, you know, taking the hops, et cetera, and putting it into a vat and fermentation and putting it into its final package. So those are two examples of bioprocessing, and there are many more that are not necessarily in an industrial setting. But that's not something that I dealt with. There's a couple of professors there, Dr. McGee, and I think soon to be maybe another professor who will be working in that area. Another area in natural resources is what's more known as, in some areas, environmental engineering, where your concern is the pollutants that might end up going to groundwater and might end up harming people as far as their ability to have safe drinking water, as well as potentially harming fish or algae or whatever life that's inside rivers or streams. So that's another area, and for, I guess, about 10 years I worked with the DEP. So so that's sort of my take on agriculture engineering.
DEP being
the Department of Environmental Protection.
Sort
of, and every state more or less has that.
Yes. So you have a great background and you're bringing all this knowledge here to incorporate in the program and share with our students. Could you tell us what a BASE student can expect if they were to enroll in that part of the program, the conservation and environmental sciences area?
Right. And really, you know, for BASE students, BASE as well as other engineering students, the first 2 years are pretty much the same, where you have a lot of mathematics, you know, a lot of, you know, the thermodynamics, physics, the biology. So that's really, I mean, before you can actually get into the program, you have to go through that. So if you've got a aptitude for mathematics and engineering, then that's the area for you. Now, it's really the second 2 years where most engineering programs divide into what your particular interests are. And for a student that selects natural resources, they would end up taking a class, let's say, natural resource conservation or non-point source pollution or class in water management design. And that would be more or less giving them an ability to transport water or know the sciences related to transporting water from its source to where it's needed, for instance, into a municipal environment or on a farm. So there are many courses that...
I was going to ask you, do you incorporate the farm aspect of it? I know that's a big concern for agricultural landowners, is how the water that they use and how it runs off of their farm affects the surrounding area in the community.
And I mean, there is, you know, as well, comparing biological agricultural systems engineering to other agriculture programs, there might not be as much traditional agriculture but you do have to have a sense for the science that's related to, for instance, the crop uptake of water. So you're familiar with what crop would require what amount of water, how deep the roots are, and that sort of thing. You are aware of what types of soil will infiltrate what amount of water and what the runoff will be. So you're getting a sense for that side of it, but not really, how to grow a crop or something like that.
Okay. So more or less the qualities of the soil in terms of how the water flows through it.
Right,
and
right.
what it intakes. That's great. So we got a chance to observe some of your students using a rainwater machine in the laboratory, and that was pretty exciting. How would they use that, or how would that learning experience benefit them in a career in natural resources conservation?
Well, as I said before, the hydrology or the hydrologic cycle is extremely important with agricultural engineering and natural resources conservation. So the main driver of anything in hydrology is rainfall. So with the students, basically what they need to know or be able to translate is what effect does the intensity of the rainfall have on the erosion of the soil? Mm-hmm. What effect does the intensity of the rainfall have on how much water is infiltrating? What effect does the intensity of the rainfall have on the flooding, the potential in that area? So what we were doing there, and possibly we may show a little bit of that, was just to kind of give the students a sense for how to determine or how to go from raindrops to intensity. So the experiment that we had there was basically trying to get put several containers to capture the rainfall, and to go from translating the amount of rainfall in each container to intensity. So, which is essentially the way they do it out in the field, with rainfall. You'll have rain gauges, different locations. So here we just basically had a concentrated area where we had many different rain gauges. And also the other important thing was to determine exactly what the uniformity of the rainfall is, with certain rain amounts. Sometimes you'll have very intense rainfall in one area, and not too far from it, not too intense rainfall. So one part of that exercise was determine what the uniformity of the rainfall was.
When we come back in our next segment, we're actually going to talk to some of your students at a field exercise. I'm really looking forward to that. I got my boots ready. And tell us a little bit about what they might be doing in our next segment real quick before we go to break.
Okay, quickly. Basically with environmental concerns for loading, an important thing, when I say loading, pollutant loading, an important thing is what the flow rate of a stream is, because the faster the stream is, and if it's polluted, the greater the load of pollutants going to be on a particular area. So what we're going to be doing in this laboratory is basically taking an instrument into a stream, hopefully flowing, hopefully not too high, and allowing the students to determine exactly what the flow rate is. When I say flow rate, it's gallons per minute. So basically what you do is you actually put the boots on, you go into the stream, which last year we did that, and students sort of enjoyed that. And you have the instrument, and it's a really good opportunity, and as you said, with hands-on, and for me that's really paramount. Let the kids see exactly how this applies to
learn by doing. I'm one of those who learn by doing.
Right.
So I am really looking forward to that.
Stronger, healthier babies. Learn more about healthy babies at marchofdimesbaby.org.
Give me all your treasure.
Imagine what a little time can do for your family.
Take that.
A message from the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
Miss me.
We have our distinguished guest, Professor Nathan Bailey from the College of Agriculture and Food Sciences, Biological Agricultural Systems Engineering program. That's a mouthful, but we love to call it BASE. And we are talking about opportunities for students and there are lots of opportunities with a degree such as BASE. Could you share with us, Dr. Bailey, some of the internship opportunities that students should be striving for while they're here?
And I think part of the program was started with internship opportunities. We had a very close relationship with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, who from the beginning, almost every summer, most students who wanted to had an internship opportunity.
Oh, that's
so
great.
Our students, even through till today, have been doing their summers with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, quite a few of them. And we've had students who've worked with, let's say in the bioprocessing area, who've worked with bioprocessing firms, industry. And that's a big part of our goal is hands-on, is allow students to do a little bit of internship every summer.
That definitely makes them more marketable when they graduate.
Yeah,
Yes.
it definitely does. We've had, I'd say probably most of the students who've done internships have actually, well, I wouldn't say, I'd say maybe have actually gone on from the internship opportunity to work in that particular company that hired them for internships.
Oh, that's great.
We've
Good
had
news.
we've had a
Yes.
couple of students, and one of them who's actually worked as an intern with the Natural Resources Conservation Service, who ended up being a state engineer for Rhode Island, and he's one of our
Wow.
shining stars. So there are definitely a lot of opportunities. That's something that we emphasize for our students to do internships.
So along those same lines, when a student comes and joins your program at BASE in our college, which we love, what kind of careers can they aspire to, or positions, whether it be in the federal government or the private sector, and what kind of salary ranges are they looking at with a four-year degree?
And I like to tell the students that they make, not to limit themselves as far as what they're going to end up doing. A lot of engineers who are in BASE end up maybe working in computers or computer science, or we have several students who work for Natural Resource Conservation Service. We actually have
And that's
one
federal government,
the federal
right?
government,
Department
right.
of Agriculture.
Absolutely. And then there's a couple of students who actually, one student working for Wall Street at Goldman Sachs.
Oh, wow.
And she's got a six-figure salary. We have some students who actually go on for their PhD, and we have a few who are actually teaching right now. There hasn't really been any problem with placement for students who have graduated with a bachelor's degree
That's
in our
wonderful.
program. So I'd say there are a couple who ended up with industry. There are a few who ended up in consulting firms like CDM. There are some who ended up, there's one who was a city engineer for Atlanta. So we're kind of all over the place as far as what the possibilities are. There's actually one who graduated last year who's actually a consultant for a farm up north. So, as far as engineering, you can do something that's related to environmental or bioprocessing, or and even some of them come in looking for something related to biomedical. So there are a lot of opportunities.
yes.
To get to your question concerning the salary ranges, if you're working for the state or the federal government, you may end up starting at a lower salary, somewhere between maybe 45 as a low, 50,000. And we've had graduates, and one person who just interviewed and got a job just recently was hired at $70,000.
With a bachelor's?
With a bachelor's, yes.
That's awesome.
And so that's
Great recruitment tool.
yeah, that's not
Yes,
uncommon.
yes.
And then, like I said, and we've had graduates who graduate closer to the six-figure salary too. So there is a wide
wonderful,
range.
yes.
There's a lot of possibilities. We had a graduate who left and went into Peace Corps, and she worked with Africare, and she's actually working on a PhD right now. So there, if you have sort of an interest in international, development work, there are opportunities, a lot of opportunities in that area
yes.
too.
And I imagine even with Natural Resources Conservation Service, they have an international agricultural program
Absolutely.
where they
Yeah.
share all of the progress we're making in the United States on farms with developing countries.
Right.
So
Yeah,
there's another option.
Right.
Wow, I'm learning too.
Yeah.
So that is wonderful for students to know and to see the potential that when they come to FAMU, they're not just getting an education, they're getting hands-on experience, and they're more than likely
Yeah.
to hit the ground running once they leave here working
Right,
and
there-
not have a
there are-
lag.
There are a lot of opportunities.
So we talked about the program as it is now, some of the studies that students can partake in. But tell me, where do you see BASE growing, and
Right,
where do you
yeah.
see future development within the college for this program?
Well, I guess one of the things is we've always had a problem, not just with this college, with biological agriculture engineering, which started out as agriculture engineering, in recruiting students, you know, to it. A lot of people are scared by the term agriculture. Somehow they think that that's something that is going to end up putting them on the farm. And as you can see, most of our graduates don't end up, or I don't think there's any of our graduates that end up working on a farm. So there are a lot
They
of
could if they
opportunities.
wanted to,
If they
but-
want to, they could, and
Yes.
that actually what makes them even a little more attractive, for instance, with international work, where you do get the opportunity to roll up your sleeves and work, you know, side by side with, and Peace Corps, Africare, there are several international organizations that love agricultural engineers, you know. But to answer your question, I'd like to recruit many more students to our program, you know, so if there are students out there who are interested,
That's awesome.
yeah, this is something
So
we're
that's the
thinking,
number one
yeah.
goal. So you heard it here on Land Grant Today. Come on over to CAFS and visit BASE. And Professor Bailey, I want to thank you so
Okay,
much,
thank
Dr.
you.
Bailey, for joining us.
Okay, thank
Enjoyed
you.
talking with you. And we'll see you on our next program. Stay tuned.
There's a monster in my bathtub.
For a child with asthma, monsters are everywhere.
There's one on the couch. There's a monster on my bed. Please make the monsters go away.
Learn more at noattax.org.
Hi, and welcome back to Land Grant Today. I'm your host, Cynthia Lamb, and today we have joining us as well students Paul Edouard and Corey Cooper. Did I get that right?
Yes.
I want to thank both of you. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Corey, for coming out to share with us about the Biological Agricultural Systems Engineering Program. And I understand you're both seniors in the Natural Resources Conservation Program area. And if you could share with me what made you choose BASE as a major. I will start with you, Paul.
Well, for me, I originally started trying different engineering majors when I originally came into FAM. I had first tried my hand at industrial engineering, and I learned on pretty early that industrial engineering wasn't for me. Then I tried my hand at mechanical engineering, and I originally liked mechanical engineering, but I eventually fell out of love with mechanical engineering. Then I tried my hand at BASE, and I really started to enjoy BASE early on in the program. So I just stuck with it, and now I'm a graduating senior.
That's awesome. What did you like most about it?
That I didn't spend a lot of time in the classroom just crunching numbers and looking at different graphs and stuff like that. There was a lot of hands-on, aspects into BASE. There's a lot of being out in the field and actually trying to do the work instead of just learning about the program or learning about your actual field of study.
So you enjoy that hands-on approach.
Yeah.
How about you? How did it work out for you, Corey?
Well, I actually started in BASE when I came to college, and I found out about BASE in high school from a past teacher I had, and she also graduated out of the BASE program. She told me to try it out because I always wanted to do engineering, but I just didn't know which aspect to take. So I tried out agriculture engineering, and it worked out pretty good for me.
So you knew early on that you would like this program, and you sort of found your way around it, right,
sorta.
Paul? Okay, but you both wound up graduating seniors now, and I'd like to ask you, what part of this program of study have you enjoyed the most? And since I started out with you first, I'm going to now switch it over to Corey. Corey, tell me, what do you enjoy most about majoring in this program?
What I enjoy most is that it seemed like it kept me on my toes, because I didn't know anything about the agriculture aspect by being from the city, so all I know how to do was go to the store and buy something out the can, some vegetables out the can, anything. But also, it's like the one-on-one time with the professor. If I have a question about some work I'm doing and I need to call my professor, I can just call him with a phone call versus always sending emails back and forth. Just pick up a phone and schedule a time to meet with them. It's a lot of one-on-one time. The classroom sizes, they could focus on you in the classroom also.
So the smaller classroom size and the accessibility of the professors, those are good things.
Yes.
Yes. All right. And how about you, Paul? What do you enjoy the most out of the base curriculum?
I like that we're more of a tight-knit family. Like, we do know our professors on a different level than we would in some of our other courses. We do know each other on a different level as to some other programs. Like, I actually have the phone numbers of everybody in the program, being students or faculty. You know, I could reach out to them day or night. You know, we're, like I said, more of a tight-knit family. Even, you know, staff members and people that work in their offices, like, we have their contact information, and we can, like Corey said, email them if we want to, but call them and we will get a response back, you know, even if we text them, you know, so it's more personal level.
And that's important. That's important, especially, you know, we're bombarded with all different ways of communication, but busy schedules aside, it's important to be able to communicate with each other. So that's great to see. What do you hope to do with your degree after graduation? Can you share that? Do you have hopes for pursuing further studies, or do you want to go out and work right away? What are your goals? And I'll start with you, Paul.
I would like to work right away after graduation. I do have aspirations for, you know, higher learning, maybe going on to get my master's and a PhD, but I would like to get my feet wet and actually try and go out into the workforce and using what I've learned. So I would, you know, more likely want to work for a company like the EPA or the Forestry Department.
Okay.
But, you know, I'll go ahead and try and send out some applications and see what comes back. But
and you can do that most certainly with a degree in base, most certainly. And you as well, Corey?
I think upon graduation, I want to work, like go out in the workforce, and eventually, well, I'm still trying to figure out which side I want to go. Like I want to deal with probably the fuels, like biofuels and things like that. Then also I'm thinking about the machinery side also, like agricultural machinery. I'm going to work for John Deere. So
there are lots of things you can do with a degree.
Yeah, so many directions you could go. Agricultural engineering, it's an alternative for a lot of different other engineering. Like you could go on the civil, you could go on the mechanical side. There's so many ways you could go, or environmental.
So that's wonderful to hear that y'all are thinking broadly and you're open to different opportunities. I want to thank you both for taking time away from your busy class schedule, and we are looking forward to hearing great things from you after graduation. We may have you back on the show to tell us about your wonderful careers. So thank you so much for joining us.
It was our pleasure.
Thank you. And when we return, we'll have a few more students to tell us about their experience at BASE.
Stronger, healthier babies. Learn more about healthy babies at marchofdimesbaby.org.
Millions of Americans suffer from poverty, but passionate people like you can do something about it. Join VISTA. You can teach teens how to mentor children at risk, recruit volunteers to feed the hungry, or help homeless veterans find shelter and employment. AmeriCorps Vista has more than 6,500 opportunities for you to help fight poverty. go to AmeriCorps.gov or call 800-942-2677.
Hi, and welcome back to Land Grant Today. And we've been talking with some of our students in the BASE program. We have Paul with us again, Paul Edouard.
Yes.
And we also have joining us now Javier Montiel, who's a senior. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And thank you again. And you're also majoring in the natural resources conservation program area or concentration. So I want to thank you guys again. We talked about hands-on experience, and Paul, you shared with us that was one of the things that you really loved about the BASE program. And we were out in the field with you guys last week, and you were doing a field stream exercise, and you were holding one of the pieces of equipment. Can you kind of walk us through what y'all were doing out there? It was fun, but I wasn't sure. I know it had something to do with water flow. For the benefit of our viewers and myself, can you tell us a little bit about what you were doing?
Well, besides freezing out there, we were learning how to navigate how much flow was moving in a certain stream or a bend. We're learning what the actual turbulence was based on how many rocks or whatever particles may be in the water causing different frictions, and we got that readout based on an instrument that we used. I don't remember the name of the instrument, but it was our first time using it, and we learned.
Oh, that's great.
This was our lab class, so just like any other lab classes, you learn how to use different instruments, but the only difference between this class and other lab classes, you actually have to go in the field, whereas being in the classroom, learn how to use different tools and instruments. So that's what makes, for me, this program so interesting. You not only get the hands-on experience, but you get to be out in the field and actually working with the elements.
Yes, yes, and that's so critical when you're on the job site to already have previous experience with some of these tools that the professionals use. And you were out there too, Javier. Share with me some of your thoughts as you were going through the exercise in the stream. What was going through your head as you were learning the different elements of how to measure that water flow?
Well, it was unique because we were outside in the field, as Paul said. It's different from other laboratories where we're in the classroom using scaled down instruments. This one was really hands-on. We each got our chance to use the machine and take the measurements and be able to calculate certain turbulence and flow.
Yeah, that seemed like it was a lot of fun. Cold, but a lot of fun. It does get cold here in Tallahassee. I also wanted to ask a question that I didn't ask before. Any advice, words of wisdom, or a nugget of wisdom that you can share with a student aspiring to major in BASE coming to FAMU?
Sure.
I'll start with you, Javier.
Sure. I would suggest, as a biosystems engineer, to treat school as a career rather than saying I'm studying to be a biosystems engineer. Say I am a biosystems engineer. That way, because what you do now helps you develop your future career as an engineer. And getting into the habit of working hard during school when it's easy makes it much easier to continue when you're in your future career.
Oh, excellent advice. Excellent.
I would say use your resources and know what your resources are. Your peers in the program are one of your biggest resources. So if you could network as much as you can, you know, reach out to upperclassmen or teachers or anybody that might be in any of your classes, and, you know, doing little things as asking if anybody has the book on a PDF, or if anybody wants to study, or, you know, if anybody has any old notes that they can lend you have or let you look at, or, you know, just networking, just knowing what is out there and what you can use.
Very important in life as well, yes. Well, I want to thank you both gentlemen for joining us on the show. And unfortunately, we're out of time, and this wraps up another edition of Land Grant Today, but we invite you to come back again next week and join us as we talk about the programs in our College of Agriculture, Food Sciences, Agriculture and Food Sciences. And I'm your host, Cynthia Lamb. Thank you so much. We'll see you next week.